Well, good morning. My name is Boris, and I want to welcome you to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm a member of this congregation and also a member of the worship team here at 1U. We have a host of folks that are joining me in today's worship, including the leader of worship today, Linnea Nelson, our director of music, Aubrey Connelly-Condelerio. He is appearing with the Chalice Choir, all in red. Our accompanist, Danny Monzon Villegas. Flautist Cammie Horne is with us today. And board member Ted Nelson will be joining us as well. Helping out with the Time for All Ages, while Judith, our director of Lifespan Religious Enrichment, is on a field trip today with some of our members, are Cammie Horne, Carolina Lofgren, and Ann Mount. Just subbing in, go Ann. Our senior minister, Reverend Margalie Belizaire, will return next week for our now annual ritual service, this year beginning here in the sanctuary. Now, our worship leader today, Linnea Nelson, has served on the worship associates team at 1U for almost 5 years, ending her term in June this year. This is a plug for others to join the team. Linnea has also served as our UU denomination as president of the Liberal Religious Educator Association and currently serves as a spiritual director and the executive director of UU Wellspring, a spiritual deepening program for Unitarian Universalists. Linnea and her husband Ted have loved attending 1U since 2017, and we love them back. Do we not? Yes. Children today will go to supervised free play after we sing them out after the Time for All Ages, and the nursery is open until noon for little ones. We greet you this morning, old friends and new ones, as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. As a UU congregation, we are a non-creedal community that does not subscribe to a specific set of beliefs. We live instead by a covenant that encourages ethical behavior, affirms democracy, celebrates the worth of each individual, and unites us in a search for truth and meaning. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, you are welcome here. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. In this community, your whole self is welcome. We welcome your race, national origin, immigration status, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. We welcome you. You can find more information about our congregation and the announcements, which I'll be sharing now. Just go to orlandouu.org or email our welcome team at orlandouu.org. We have a few special announcements today. The first is that the worship team is conducting an annual survey, and we're inviting feedback all month in January. There is a link to the newsletter, or you can pick up a hard copy right out at the welcome table and complete the survey and return it to Linnea or to the office. Members of the worship team will also be available after the service at the front of the sanctuary today and next week to hear your accolades, concerns, or comments in person. From the Lifespan Religious Enrichment Program, please refer to the slides, Facebook post, and email blast for information about upcoming Sunday morning classes, welcoming Wednesdays, and other RE special events. There is a lot happening, and you can see it on the screen behind me. We have a gift for you as well. You have one more week to offer up your dinner, event, or service to the 1U Community Exchange. Please use the link here or in the newsletter to tell us what you are offering. Events can begin in February. Look forward to gathering with you all. All other announcements are on slides before and after the service and have links in the weekly update. Now, I'd like to invite up Aubrey, who's going to make a brief announcement about the February 17th Milk District Salon.
So that was basically the announcement. February 17th will be our next Milk District Salon. It is the Flying Horse Big Band from UCF, an amazing group of young students, but they won't sound like students at all. They're so fantastic. If you were here last year for them, imagine a 20-piece big band in this room with our acoustics, what that sound is like. You literally feel the wall of sound as it hits you. If you weren't here, I cannot recommend it enough. Tickets are now available. You can use the QR code that's up there, or just go to our church website and you'll be led to where to get tickets. February 17th, 8 p.m.
Love it, the Flying Horse, fantastic. Another announcement, today is Conversation with the Board of Trustees Day. So those of you who are interested in having a chat with folks deeply engaged with our congregation, whether you're a member, a non-member, somebody curious about the church, over in Gore Hall, room B, after service today, Conversation with the Board of Trustees. All right, following along with the service is easy with us. You just simply use the QR code shown in the monitor and on the first few slides. I thank you all again for being here, both in person and in our online stream today. Welcome.
And now, please say the words with me as we light the chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And now, please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing opening hymn number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. And the words are above on the screen above.
It is so good to be with all of you on this first Sunday of 2024. as we explore how we can all be transformed and transform others through love and acts of compassion, even in today's troubling times. Our call to worship today is from a Unitarian Universalist minister, Gretchen Haley. For this one moment, know that you are loved, that you are safe and whole and loved. Know that you belong here among us, here upon this earth in your body. However tired or broken your heart may be, whatever fear, disappointment, anger you carry, for this hour, know that you are not alone. Feel the presence of others surrounding you, breathing beside you and with you, discovering together the way our voices rise and fall together. In harmony, in hope, claim here a resilient freedom, the choice for love, for light, to live with joy and gratitude, and praise as a form of resistance. Already we are organizing. Come, let us worship together. And now let's take a moment to greet one another.
And now is our time for all ages. And today, we're acting out something called the Vessel of Compassion. So let me first call the children and those who are young at heart, that could include any of you people, to join us up front here, if you wish, on the rug right in front of me. Anyone is welcome. Not too many kids today. All right, fair enough. We're good. So, here's our story. Once upon a time, in a time that is both this time and no time, at the turning of the 9th moon of the year, 4 women journeyed from 4 different directions to share a moment of sacredness together. Each carried a pitcher of water from her home, embedded with the stories and emotions of her life and community. They congregated around an empty vessel, united in the desire to listen to the stories and hearts of one another. The youngest woman came from the east with the spirit of air. As she poured water from her pitcher into the vessel, she shared stories from her home about the excitement of children being born, the music of laughter that fragranced the neighborhoods, and the bliss of young people falling in love. As she shared the story of her heart, she laughed, and drops of liquid joy burst from her mouth and landed inside the vessel. Figuratively. The 4 women paused to honor the stories from the East and the spirit of the woman who shared with them. Children and congregation, you're invited to bow with our water gatherers to the direction with them. So now we bow to the East. I see the head bowing. Very good, congregation. Well done. Well done. Okay. The mother came from the south with the spirit of fire. As she poured water from her pitcher into the vessel, she shared stories from her home about adapting to the ever-changing world of motherhood, the challenges of navigating family life, and the difficulties her community faced with transitions in leadership. As she shared the story of her heart, a drop of sweat formed on her brow and landed inside the vessel, figuratively speaking. So now we will all bow to the south with our journeying women. Very good. Okay. From the west, with the spirit of water, came the sovereign woman. As she poured water from her pitcher into the vessel, she shared stories from her home about friends and loved ones who had died, the grief of those who missed them, and the deep pain she carried for the wounds humans have inflicted on each other and our world. As she shared the story of her heart, a tear of sadness fell from her eye and landed in the vessel. The four women paused to honor the stories from the West and the spirit of the woman who shared with them, and we now bow to the West. And finally, from the north came the elder woman with the spirit of earth. As she poured water from her pitcher into the vessel, she shared stories from her home about the peace she found in solitude, the comfort she found in witnessing the changing of the seasons and the phases of the moon, and the renewal she felt when sharing her wisdom with those who would listen. As she shared the story of her heart, a tear of joy fell from her eye and landed inside the vessel. And now we bow to the north as we honor the stories from the north and the spirit of the woman who shared them. Between the four women was a vessel filled with the water of joy and happiness, change and transition, grief and loss, and rest and renewal. Mingled together in harmony and blessed by the women through their reverence and love for each other, the empty vessel of water was now a full vessel of compassion. As the water was shared, each child received a sip of this sacred water from all the world's experience that will remind us today to be a vessel of love and compassion every day.
And I offer this cup of water to all of you as a reminder when you sip water that you always have the opportunity to offer love and compassion back into this world. And now, if we have any children who'd like to go through the arch, those of you who are standing near the middle, please create the arch and we will sing you to your activities.
Good morning. I'm Ted Nelson, Treasurer of the Board of Trustees. We invite you now into the practice of generosity. It's one of our spiritual values, and it sustains the life and ministries of this church community. Let us be grateful for our opportunity to give, for it's a privilege to be able to do so. And let us be grateful for our needs, for they give us the opportunity when we need to practice receiving. Today's full collection will go to the ministries of our Share the Plate partner for January, the Holocaust Center in Maitland. Please welcome Kathy Turner, who will share more about the Holocaust Center.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I am Kathy Turner. I am the Vice President of Marketing and Development for the Holocaust Center in Maitland. For those of you who don't know that we have a Holocaust Center here in Central Florida, it is located at the intersection of Maitland Boulevard and Maitland Avenue. It's been there since 1986, was created by our founder, Tess Wise, who's a Holocaust survivor. And we are proud to offer 2 permanent exhibits, a virtual reality experience there that's a tour of the Anne Frank Annex, as well as multiple temporary exhibits in our special exhibit space that rotate throughout the year. So welcome you all to come and visit, to come and learn from our permanent exhibits, to check out our temporary special exhibits that we have, and to join us for any of the programs that we have. We have commemorative programs, programming for students and for all ages throughout the year, and would certainly welcome you to join us for any program coming up. I'm here more so today not just to ask for your support and to welcome you to our center in Maitland, which is 100% dependent on philanthropy. Everything that we do is funded by our community, but also to talk about what I think many of you see in the news or maybe just in your day-to-day life, which is the increase in hate crimes and anti-Semitism in our own backyard. There has been an increased prevalence in white supremacy, in hate symbols and hate speech and propaganda throughout all of Central Florida and many of our own backyards. As recently as there's been graffiti and hate symbols and propaganda on Zebra Coalition and One Orlando Alliance. Crane's Roost over Labor Day weekend, you may have noticed, there was a group of neo-Nazis marching around Crane's Roost. The group is not to be named. We choose not to give them credit, but nonetheless doing the Hail Hitler salute and asking those to join them in that hatred. And so we have always had a mission since day one, since our founding in 1986, to use the history and the lessons of the Holocaust to build a more just and caring community free of anti-Semitism and all forms of hatred, prejudice, and bigotry. I think it's important to say all forms of hatred, prejudice, and bigotry because over the last decade, hate crimes in Florida have risen by more than 300%. In 2022, the numbers aren't quite out yet for all of 23, but in 2022, there were 269 acts of hate, specifically targeting Jews in Florida. 1 of 6 of those incidents took place right here in Central Florida. And we know that when Jews are attacked, the rise in hatred for all minorities, all individuals goes up. It is not just one, it's never just one population that's targeted. If you're interested, I won't go through it, but the ADL has a recent report called Hate in the Sunshine State. I would encourage you to go check that out if you're interested in any more of the numbers or statistics. I won't rattle those off for you. But we know that since Labor Day weekend, October 7th also took place, and thus there has been an influx in all of this hatred and anti-Semitism, all the more reason why our mission is not only relatable but relevant today. And so we're looking forward to plans for a new museum in downtown Orlando. We've outgrown our space in Maitland. It's 7,000 square feet, and we've done the best that we can with that space. But we're looking forward to building a new museum downtown Orlando at Ivanhoe and I-4, where the former Chamber of Commerce building sits. That chamber building is going to be demolished this year, and we'll have a groundbreaking at the end of this year for a 45,000 square foot new museum, Holocaust Museum for Hope and Humanity. And so again, taking a real stand against anti-Semitism, of course, using history of Holocaust, but all forms of prejudice and bigotry. So we're really excited to have this beacon of hope to help people find a shared common humanity. That is the goal. And so I would encourage you to visit our website anytime, find out the programming that we currently offer, and to stay tuned on the plans for our new Holocaust Museum for Hope and Humanity. Thank you for supporting our efforts right here and now. It's important as we grow to our future space. I look forward to keeping you informed, and I thank you all so much for your support.
let us joyfully receive and share with the Holocaust Center what is offered here today in the spirit of gratitude and fellowship.
This is the time we set aside for deep sharing of our hearts and for prayer and meditation. If you have a sorrow that you need witnessed with or help with, or have a joy that you wish to share, please contribute to our collective sharing of joys and sorrows to be read each Sunday during worship. You can send an email to joysandsorrows@orlandouu.org during the week. If you're attending in person, you can fill out one of our cards at the registration table and hand it to an usher before the start of service. And after the meditation, we will call you forward to participate in our candle lighting ritual, where you may also reflect on joys and sorrows in your heart. So bring your joys and sorrows as we come together. Come as you are. Your whole self is welcome in this sacred space we are creating together. And our joys and sorrows today are all on cards. First off, a bit of a celebration. The flowers today are in celebration of Sandy Cawthorn's birthday, which is coming up this Thursday. Longtime member, Sandy. Joan would like to say brava and thanks to Kat Rigby and her daughter Julia for a wonderful kickoff. This was with Women's Christmas celebration, which wrapped up yesterday with a meal and gathering together, and much joy was had. Steph Garber would like to thank all of those who gave blood recently in our 1U blood drive, and especially we're excited that the One Blood has removed the LGBTQ restriction, allowing more folks to donate. Very good. And Ann Mount also has a joy. She wishes that we all send winning vibes to her son-in-law, who is nominated with his team for the Best Documentary Production for an Emmy. One of his 2 episodes of 1619 Justice. That documentary is up against Ken Burns' America and the Holocaust. So we don't know how to wedge that into the joy, but there you are. Okay. And now let me call forward Linnea.
Our prayer for today is from a former colleague of mine, the Reverend Laura Horton Ludwig. Please find a pose of rest as you breathe together. The imprint of love. Spirit of life and love, light within and without, mystery from which all have emerged, with which we live and die. Be with us now as we allow ourselves to drop into the silence and stillness at the center of our being. As people of faith, we seek to live in a spirit of love, a spirit of community, justice, and peace. And yet, in so many corners of the world, both far and near, we see divisiveness and hate. And if we look deep within ourselves, perhaps we will even find those shadow energies there too. We struggle to respond to the outer world and our inner dramas in ways that manifest love. At times, we may fear that love will not be strong enough. At times, we may question whether love really is at the root of all things. In this world with so much struggle and suffering and discord, we may struggle to hold on to our faith in love, knowing that if all things come from the one source we proclaim, that source must somehow hold hate as well as love, violence as well as peace, evil as well as good. This is the mystery within which we live and die. These are the questions that haunt our days and nights. And yet, we are not without hope. Our struggles and our questions testify to our longing for peace, for love. Our very longings are born out of that mystery we dare to address as spirit of life and love. In the stillness and silence of our own heart, we read the imprint of love, created not by our own will, but planted there for us to discover. By what or by whom we cannot know, and yet it is there, a clue, a talisman, a beacon, a light within. May it keep hope alive, even as we dwell in mystery. May it guide us as we all seek to act wisely and well. May it help us be vessels of compassion for one another and for the world. Amen. You are invited now to come forward and light a candle of remembrance, loving kindness, or hope. Our first candle will be lit to recognize the joys and sorrows of our online community, and the last candle to recognize the unspoken joys and sorrows in this room. Recently, I visited the Temecula Arts Foundation for a Wednesday night World Peace meditation led by Puja Madan. She invited the 30 or so of us in attendance into a meditation for world peace, and she gently explained the importance of personally and communally grounding ourselves in a collective love that she explained expands the goodness of the universe. And my meditation experience that night was deeply impacted by this shared understanding that by meditating with this group in this time and place, we actually were expanding peace in the world. And as she led us in this loving kindness prayer to bless ourselves, others, and the world, I felt that each of us, as Reverend Horton Ludwig named in our prayer today, we were each a vessel of compassion for one another and for our world. I felt that this was indeed a practice of liberatory love. And we hear so little of peace in the world and the news each day, and yet if we yearn for peace, we must begin by cultivating love and compassion in our daily lives. I share Madan's belief that this stance actually can affect world peace. Whether we are halfway around the world from war or just a click away from political, ethical, and moral turmoil reported in the daily news, that if we continue to share love and acts of compassion in the here and now, it matters. When we are together, our love and compassion toward one another do make a difference. Because if we were to live focused on the frustration, hate, and violence in the world, we would likely reflect that same hatred in many unknowing ways. Even though it is, of course, important to recognize and know about the hate in the world in order to be able to combat it, it's also a double-edged sword to know hate and yet not reflect it, not to give hate the power that multiplies its effects in the world. I believe we can choose to combat hate wherever it appears, and therefore not mirror it. Rather, our resistance to hate can be our every act of love and compassion. The word compassion is derived from a Latin phrase meaning to suffer together. So when we are asked to be compassionate, we are definitely not suggesting an easy road. Compassion means suffering together. The Dalai Lama writes in his book, The Art of Happiness, that love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. And considering humanity, after World War II, Carl Jung was asked to write an essay to explain the concept of mass evil. He surprisingly, to many, posited that it is not just individual leaders who are to blame for mass violence, but rather they are all mirroring, reflecting a collective hatred that is already sending hate out into the world. So Jung asked everyone to uncover the hate in their own hearts. And yes, I think he even meant we Unitarian Universalists. To make sure that we don't add one iota of our personal hate to the collective, which would be like adding fuel to an already damaging fire. Jung asks all of us to recognize that hate is in each of our hearts. He wrote that this recognition is the first step in combating hate. Now, I heartily agree with Jung that in all times and places where evil appears, we each have a responsibility to add our own love and compassion to the community and not to mirror hate and violence. Not only to ensure that humanity survives, but for each of us to add to the greater peace in the world at large. And I almost wrote, peace, not hate, but I realized that that would give this reflection a retro kind of 1960s feel. But much of what was spoken in the 1960s still rings true. James Baldwin once wrote, walk down the street of any city, any afternoon, and look around you. What you got to remember is what you're looking at is also you. Everyone you're looking at is also you. You could be that person. You could be that monster. And you had to decide for yourself not to be. Baldwin is saying that we have to choose not to reflect hatred. Yet we need to embrace the concept that hate exists in ourselves so that we can actively change it. A New York Times reporter, David Brooks, recently responded to Baldwin's words by using the phrase defiant humanism, noting how easy it is to be a humanist in good times, but that is truly a heroic act to be a humanist in bitter times and circumstances. Both Brooks and Baldwin, decades apart, each call us to be a mirror and to be the catalyst that converts hate into compassion. We are the variable that can change the feedback loop of hatred into love. So I'm guided by Puja Madan, the Dalai Lama, James Baldwin, Carl Jung, Laura Hutton Ludwig, and David Brooks, as they remind me that I can't let the news send me into compassion fatigue, that numbing of ourselves when the events of the day are overwhelming, complicated, seemingly never-ending, and out of our control. One of the reasons we seek out places to worship, like One U, is that we yearn for a community that is committed to living into love, committed to regular acts of kindness and compassion, and has a faith that all these everyday actions make a difference. So if humanity depends on love and compassion, as the Dalai Lama says, we must look at people differently. And rather than demonize them, we must demonize the action. And yes, that is hard. But if we meet each wave of hate as a personal vessel of compassion that encompasses both the victim and the perpetrator, we can perhaps convert this horrible cycle of violent acts into love for everyone involved. And I believe that we are all part of this cycle of violence and compassion, love and hate, and that healing occurs when we break the cycle. Our reactions can heal ourselves, each other, and the world. We will inevitably take turns being the perpetrator and the victim of hate and violence. Yes, even Unitarian Universalists, we are not immune to these systems. So our community, when we band together, can both provide and accept healing from the world traumas as we each endeavor to pour out love every day. And every time we succeed in letting our love overcome hate, our every act of kindness, consideration, gratitude, and understanding, it changes the world. And in doing so, changes our souls for the better. Compassion is our responsibility, and love is our core Unitarian Universalist value. And this understanding helps me appreciate how being a vessel of compassion for one another and the world can be at the center of our faith, and it can be called love. So it's not surprising to me that love now shows up in the center of our proposed Article 2 values, a word that can be the feeling and belief system behind our every act of compassion. And not one of us alone can change the world, but if we as a collective offer compassion every single day, it compounds into a wave of powerful love. And I hope you also feel that through that wave of communal love, we might just tip the balance of the cosmos toward a more liberating love. May it be so. Blessed be. Please rise, embody your spirit, and join in singing our... Oh, the choir piece, sorry. Next, we're going to have the choir piece. I am so glad we didn't miss that. My apologies, choir. Now, if you would rise, embody your spirit, and sing with us hymn number 131, which is Love Will Guide Us.
On the road from
you all and Aubrey. Ooh, I'm tingling. Our benediction comes from the wise words of Rosemary Watola Trummer. On a day when the world had its way with me, like every other day, today it is apparent that only love will save us. Not in the grandiose, abstract way, but in the alarming, specific way. As in forgiveness, now. As in choosing to hug instead of fighting back. As in taking 3 deep breaths before saying something we regret. It saves us from thirsting in the desert of our lives, but only if we save it first by choosing it. Now in this moment of angry words, now in this moment of clenched thoughts, now in this moment when we'd rather taste venom sometimes, but instead we pour love into our cup and bring it to our lips and drink until once again it is only love that makes sense, only love that refills the cup. Beloveds, worship has ended, and now our service has truly begun. We can begin with our call to action, and today you can meet at City Hall tonight at 6 p.m. for a Martin Luther King presentation, and then march to the First United Methodist Church for an interfaith candlelight celebration where Reverend Margalie will be at the First Methodist Church, where she will be speaking. And then you can attend the Martin Luther King Pride Parade in downtown Orlando next Saturday at 10 a.m. And now we will extinguish the chalice.
And now, please say these words with me as we extinguish this flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.